What's going on? It's time for another episode of Too Hard for the Radio, transmitting from the future free state of Greater Idaho. I am the one armed madman, and with me today we've got Elyse Seal. Elyse, pleasure to have you. We've been talking off air for about an hour now about sci-fi and the book I'm writing, so it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem. I always enjoy talking a bit of sci-fi. We're talking a bit about my favorite series of books, Expeditionary Force, which I've never really gotten to talk to anybody about for because none of my friends or family like read sci-fi. So this is something that like I've been reading on my own and just never get a chance to talk about.
It's so true. It's like I got introduced to it by a friend and then my sister, and like nobody knows the series
Yeah,
that I know. And it's just like everyone needs to know about Expeditionary Force. Everyone who's listening, go read the first book. It's called
so
Columbus
good.
Day, and it's amazing. You'll
It's
all
so
love
good.
it.
And, like, I have a problem with military sci-fi a lot of the time because I'm very anti-war, so I kinda get caught up in is like, is this justified what they're doing? Are they the aggressors? Or, is are should they be doing this or that? But with Expeditionary Force, I find that, like, most of what they do in the book is justified. Sometimes they go a little bit over the line, but I kind of don't get caught up in that. I just listen because it's so good and it's funny. I'm a tough laugh a lot of the time. It's tough to make me laugh, and that book makes me laugh all the time.
Oh, me too. And it's one of the things I really love about it is like the the law of unintended consequences. It's like they start out with we just need to save Earth. We need to
Mhm.
save the world. And it just gets more and more complicated
Yeah.
because of the law of unintended consequences.
I wonder, like, I'd love to interview Craig Allenson someday just to kind of, like, pick his brain on how he came up with these ideas. Like, I wonder if I don't wanna spoil it for you because you're on book 6 and I'm on book 19, so, I won't, like, spoil anything on it, but it goes much further than you would think after the first book. Like, after the first book, like, they, kind of like you said, the goal is kind of just to save Earth. And then, nope, that should be it. But it's not. Like, there's another villain, there's another problem, there's another. So I like wonder if he came up with it all at once or if he kind of just like came up with it as he went and decided like, "Oh, okay, we need another book. So like let's bring in this villain, let's bring in this problem, let's bring this in." And it's such a clever book. The characters are so good and so endearing. Like I can't recommend it enough. I like I said, it's my favorite series. I can't wait every time a new one comes out. It's like, oh boy, I get to read another one.
I know. It's like I think I went through the first 6 books like in the month of January. That's when I was introduced to it, was this
Yeah.
January, and I read 6 books in a month.
Yeah, I after the first one, I was like, "Oh, man, this is so good." And then I remember looking, I was like, "Oh, boy, there's, like, 17 of these things," and I hammered through them within, like, a couple months,
Yeah.
4 hours a night. I sit in my hot tub every night before I go to bed for a couple hours, and I'll just throw on an audiobook and listen, and, I hammered through those books so fast. It was a sad day when I got to the end of them, but at least I could tell that there was more coming, and,
Yeah.
like I was telling you off air, I think book 20 could be the last book, which I'm very sad about. But who knows? Like I've thought it could be the last book a couple of different times now and it wasn't. So, we'll see.
Yeah. So, it's like, I'm curious, when it came to your book, um, did the sci-fi elements, like the world building, come first, or was it very much like the characters?
It
Because quite
was
often the world building comes for a lot of my authors that I work
yeah,
with.
it was the sci-fi elements. Like I I decided like at one point, I've had a rough life. I've had a lot of things happen to me and I've had people tell me before you should write a book and I, was kind of outlining an autobiography and I was just like, this is kind of boring. I'd like to write something that I would read, like not necessarily that it would be boring for everybody. Like some people would like it, but like it's not something I would read, like I'm not into that type of thing. I don't read autobiographies. I've never read an autobiography before. Got a biography of one of my great uncles, William Seward, that's been sitting on my desk as a iPad stand for a couple years, and I've never opened the thing and read a single page of it just because I don't really care all that much. Like I've read the guy's Wikipedia. It's good enough. Like I don't really need to go and read 400 more pages about this guy. And I kind of decided like, well, maybe I'll, turn it into like a fiction book that I would enjoy, So I kind of had the basis of the character essentially, but I didn't know what I was going to do with it. And I had an idea for this sci-fi book on the side that is totally different than the book that I'm writing now. But I was kind of like, okay, I think I could, figure out how to bring this character into the book. But at the time, like the idea that I had didn't really have room for that character. So it kind of took some like rethinking and retooling and coming up with new ideas and honestly like reading a lot of books. Like I've read probably 300 sci-fi books since I've gotten hurt in 2015. So like I don't, steal from other books, but like there's certain concepts that have been used over and over again. So like I don't feel bad about like, hey, I can kind of use this in a certain way. But anyways, just
Well,
reading different books is has brought me to a totally different place.
when it comes to stealing from other books, it's like what you got to understand is that we all steal from each other.
Yeah.
It's like there are only so many ways to tell a story. There's only so many themes and like things that we like things we want to talk about in books. Like the point of a book. But there's a million ways to tell it.
Mhm.
It's like, but what I've learned is that it's okay to steal from other books because you tell it with your own flair.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was
You
like,
know, so
don't be
here's an
upset about
example
that.
of one. So like I had the idea to use a micro wormhole as a communication device before I started reading Expeditionary Force, but then clearly like that's an aspect of that book where Skippy creates micro wormholes. So I kind of decided, well, like I could, have my character kind of point that out because the alien that's using this micro wormhole within the book would know expeditionary force because he's kind of been documenting everything on Earth and watching everybody do what they do. So he knows that book. So I can have my main character go, "Holy crap, you're Skippy the Magnificent." And he can kind of make a reference to that. So I thought like that would be like I want to use references within the book, but I want to give people credit if I can also, and it's I have actually had the idea where, when he kind of points that out, it's like, "Holy crap." And then he goes, "Wait a minute. Is are do you know what happens at the end of Expeditionary Force?" Like
I love that. It's like, so one of the things I actually want to know, it's like we've got all this cool like sci-fi stuff,
Yeah,
but it's like one of the things that when you sent me kind of the big picture
yeah.
of the story was the character development for for your main character Wayne didn't seem to fit into the plot at all.
Mhm.
So can you tell me a little bit more about Wayne?
Sure. So, like, Wayne is like I told you, he's me in a lot of ways. Like, we have the
Mhm.
same backstory, and then he's thrust into this predicament where I look at it as like, how would I react or how would I hope that I would react in this situation? So, a lot of it is based on what I think I would do, but also kind of, when I got hurt, I went through a rough period of time, and I'm going to kind of use that time period to explain like what he's going through. It'll be kind of the same thing. So a lot of what he's doing is like self-imposed punishment where
Mhm.
he feels like he did a lot of bad things early in his adult life. He, lied, stole, he did terrible things while he was addicted to drugs. And he turned his life around and he started doing everything right. He went in the right direction. He got a great job. He met his wife. Like he did everything right. And then all of a sudden he's kind of punished by surviving this attack by these UFOs. He doesn't know what they are, and and he gets electrocuted, loses his hand. His wife slips back into alcoholism, and he's kind of like, what did I do to deserve this? Like, I did everything right. I kind of turned my life around. So, what did I do wrong that caused this to happen to me? He kind of believes in karma in a way. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, like I get that I did these terrible things, but I turned my life around. So why am I being punished? And then at the same time, he's infected by these nanites that allow him to live forever. So he starts seeing people around him die and grow old. And he doesn't have any kids, but he ends up taking, custody of a couple of kids who lose their family in this event, and he has to watch them get older than him and eventually die because when he gets infected with these nanites, they tell him like, hey, they don't tell him what it is. He doesn't know what is making him live forever. He doesn't know what like caused him to survive this. And they tell him like, you can't like give this power to other people, like, it doesn't work for everybody, and at one point, he tries injecting somebody with his blood to see if, it will kind of carry over to them and it kills them, so
Oh,
he's kind of stuck in this spot of limbo where he sees his wife get old and die, and his wife kind of goes back into alcoholism and kind of is distant, and their relationship is very tumultuous, and they are stuck in this world where after people start dying, he's heartbroken. He's afraid to make connections with other people at this point because it's just a temporary thing. He has to watch them get old and die, and essentially like he looks at living forever as a punishment rather than a reward you know um what else would I say? Essentially he's surviving in a state of limbo instead of living
mhm.
and going out and creating a better life for himself. He's afraid to do that. And a lot of it is like a self-imposed punishment because he feels like whatever, he did to turn his life around wasn't good enough. And for whatever reason, like he doesn't deserve to have a life.
Ooh, that's good. Like, so it's like something that I always talk about with my authors is what a character actually wants. So what would it's like, and we've got like the external wants. This is very much like, Wayne wants to survive. He wants his community to survive. And like for the first part of the book, that's very much his goal.
Mhm.
It's just to survive. Um, but the thing that really brings people in when you're telling a story is that inner want. Because like these are things like you want to be accepted, you want to be loved, you want to be part of it, like you want to be a part of something bigger, you want to have purpose.
Mhm.
What would be Wayne's like inner want?
I think he would want his life to go back to normal. As he wasn't a bad person when he was younger. It was, he got into drugs in his 20s and, into his late 20s. And he wants, to go back to the way things were and to be a normal person again, where he's kind of science experiment by this time. And
Mhm.
even when he ends up meeting Doc, who gives him an opportunity to kind of turn it around and go figure out this mystery and kind of save his community, he's reluctant to do so because he feels like everything he does turns to shit, you know? So why would I even try to do this when I'm just going to make everything worse for the people around me? Yeah, they're slaves. Yeah, they have to work in the fields every day to serve this, group of people that they don't even know who they're, working for, but they still have family. They still have, at night they can go in and read books together and listen to music and, have somewhat of a life. So he's like, thinks, why would I take away what what little semblance of a normal life that they have in order to kind of serve a bigger goal that I have no idea if I can do. Like, why would I assume that I can change anything around the world where everything I've done has gone to shit?
Yeah. It's like better the devil you know, you're right?
Yep.
As like, so it's like what I'm hearing is actually the lie that he believes
Mhm.
is that I make everything worse for people. That's part of the I'm not good enough. It's like I shouldn't get involved because I just make everything worse.
Mhm.
It's like, but I want to go back to like what he wants. What does it mean to go back to normal?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good question.
Because
Um,
normal is different for everyone.
sure. I guess normal's a bad word to use in that context. I would say that he wants to be happy again. You know, he was a happy guy growing up. He was a dirt bike racer. He he felt like he was meant to do something good with his life. He felt like he had the ability and the capabilities to do something good, to do something big, um to be somebody, you know, to
Mhm.
be somebody who adds value to the people around him rather than taking it away from the people around him. And he feels like he failed at that and that he had an opportunity to do something good with his life and he squandered it.
Ooh, it's like that's where it is. Like you just hit it right on the nose. Like normal means I get to go back and have purpose.
Yeah.
What he really wants is purpose.
Mhm. Where
And so
he's, like, stuck in this limbo where he's just having to be a slave driver essentially, where that's
yeah,
not purpose, that's just existing rather than living.
if he is kind of like the slave driver,
Mhm,
it's like he feels like a cog in the wheel of this evil system above him.
mhm,
Like he's not part of adding value. He's not a part of bringing good in this world. He's just a cog in the system that is perpetuating slavery and abuse.
mhm.
And it's like right there, that's your character development. That's that is his like motivations behind like the plot. Because you were saying that you have a hard time um kind of delving into those emotions.
Mhm.
But right there you have found the motivating force behind Wayne. And so it's like actually that is something you have to write down.
Yeah.
It's like I can send it to you, but
No, it's
to
fine.
write down that like the motivation behind everything is he wants to be a force for good. But he believes this lie that I make everything worse. And so his character development is like each scene will be pushing him either deeper into that I make everything worse or to like I actually could do something to
Mhm,
make life better for these people
mhm.
and for the world.
Yeah. And, you know, Doc gives him an opportunity. He doesn't give him you know, a free pass to like, "Hey, I'm gonna make everything better for you." He gives him an opportunity to make things better for the people around him, and he has to take that opportunity. He has to choose to do it. He's not being forced to do it. Doc says, like, "You're the perfect person for this job." Like, I, know things about you. He doesn't know why he knows how he knows things about him, but he does know things about him, and he gives him enough evidence to like, hey, look, I can mess with these people's machinery. I can mess with their technology. There's like robots that are kind of around the community, kind of making sure they're doing what they're supposed to do. And he shows him like, look, I can hack into these machines and make them, stand on their head and do this type of thing. So
Yeah.
like if I can do that, I can help you to do this, but it's up to you. Like I can go find somebody else to do it, but I think that you're the person for this job.
Mm. Yeah, and that's the thing, like, there needs to be a point where Wayne is the only one who can do this.
Mhm.
It's like, and it's like, I know that early in the book, like he gets injected with the nanites. And I'm curious, would that be part of it? Or is it something about Wayne
No,
that actually
it
makes
has nothing.
him
Well, the nanites, there is a portion of it. So, like, there's this force field for, let's just hand wave it and call it a force field around the city that doesn't allow normal people in. But if you have the nanites in you, you can walk in. You know, nor, there's very few normal people outside of the city that have nanites, and none of them have ever thought about just like walking into the city. And they've kind of destroyed the Golden Gate Bridge and they've caused an earthquake in the area. So San Francisco is now an island. It's not connected to the mainland. So you kind of have to get over there and then walk through the forest. So there is that aspect of it, but it's more about who he is as a person. I think I told you off air, like I'm a libertarian. So um, I am very anti-war, anti-slavery, bodily autonomy, and that's Wayne. So as they're developing this new society and they're deciding what kind of system they're going to have, some people want to have a government that decides what's going to happen. Some people want to have everything be communist, where we share everything. And Wayne is kind of the driving force behind, like, no, we're going to have a private property society. We're going to have money. We're going to have, people are we're not going to have just some government come in and decide what everybody's going to do. Like, we're going to make our own lives. You're going to have to work to, you know, keep your family, to keep the people around you safe. And those are kind of he also, he's sitting in a cabin by himself for over 100 years and he's reading the entire time. He's reading different books. He's reading about philosophy. He's reading about governments. He's reading about war. And Doc, unbeknownst to Wayne, is watching him do all of this reading and learning. And he kind of decides like this is also he's close to San Francisco. He's in Northern California, so he's only about 100 miles away. So that actually helps with this aspect of it as well. But it's more about who he is as a person rather than like him having these nanites, because Doc could easily just inject somebody with nanites and say, okay, like I can allow you to come in. But he decides that this is the right person for, you know, all those reasons.
so I would hesitate against the doc could inject other people with nanites because wouldn't that be like there's a
I wouldn't say
okay,
that
so
in the
Doc is
book,
basically
but
like
by
the
the end,
creator aliens.
sure. Like I won't say that in the book, but by the end you could tell like, oh, this guy he could have done whatever he wanted at at this point.
Yeah.
Like he has the power, he has the ability to kind of do whatever he wants. So this was a decision on his part rather than just like finding the closest person that could possibly do the job. Like it was a calculated move.
Yeah, true. But we also like we were talking off air. It's like he also has like the prime directive
Yeah.
kind of thing where it's like he's got limitations of
Yep.
what he is able to do.
Yep. So he just because he
And those
can do it
limitations are
doesn't
very
mean he
important.
would, exactly.
Yeah. Because yeah, there needs to be those limitations or else Doc could save the world
I
instead
don't
of
I don't like
need Wayne.
superheroes. Like I'm not a fan of superhero movies. I'm not a fan of superheroes in books because I feel like it's lazy to just
Mhm.
have somebody that can do anything. I feel like normal people need to figure out problems using their mind, using their, physical capabilities, but mostly their mind to
Mhm.
kind of figure out a way around a problem rather than just hand waving it away by, oh, this person can fly or run at the speed of light or, like all these ridiculous things that superheroes are capable of doing. And a lot of times, like you get into a superhero movie where it's like, well, why didn't they just do this? Like have all these capabilities. Like it would be easy for them to just do this. And well, you can't do that because then the plot would be screwed up and the movie would be over in 10 minutes. So they kind of impose limits on these superheroes that wouldn't necessarily line up with reality. So like I definitely don't want that to be
Yeah.
a part of the book.
That's definitely something you're gonna have to specifically kind of put in there is Doc's limitations.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like introducing it as situations come up, kind of like an expeditionary force where it's
Mhm.
like, "Skippy, why can't you just do this?" And he was like, "Because"
Yep. And also, Skippy isn't capable of thinking up of everything. He doesn't have that squishy monkey brain that allows him to think in weird ways, where sometimes the answer to their question is fairly obvious, but it's just right over Skippy's head because he doesn't have the capabilities of thinking like that. So Joe has to come in and say, "Well, could you do this?" And typically it's like, "No, stupid, I can't do that." And then it's like, "Well, wait a minute, hold on. Like, what if you did this and this and this?" "Oh, I hate you, Joe. You're so stupid. Why do you make me why do you do this to me all the time?" You know? And
Yeah.
yeah, I always like that aspect of the book because yeah, like Skippy is very capable. He's, more super than a superhero, but at the same time, he's not capable of thinking in the same way that, a very like Joe is very what's the word I'm looking for? Resourceful, you know.
Mhm.
And that's one of my favorite things about sci-fi a lot of the time. Like I said, I don't read a ton of military sci-fi. Like I like Larry Niven's one of my favorite authors, and like a lot of his books are solo explorers, like the Ringworld series, for example. Like Larry Wu is a solo explorer. He finds this ring world and he has to figure out like what's going on this ring world. Why is this thing falling out of orbit? Why is all of the superconductors gone bad? Like there's all of these different problems in the book and the puppeteer that's with him kind of knows the answer to a lot of these problems, but he doesn't tell Larry. He has to figure it out on his own. And like a lot of times in Niven's books, like government comes in and they just screw everything up. They try and use force to solve every problem because, as a government, you're a hammer and everything is a nail. So, like, they just try to force their way into everything. And, like, force is not always the answer. Sometimes you have to be resourceful and figure things out on your own. And, like, I like that aspect of, like, Expeditionary Force, for example, where, like, yeah, Joe has like a ship and a crew around him, but a lot of the problems he's solving on his own. Him and Skippy are going back and forth trying to figure out the answer to a problem. And typically, like, sometimes he gets help from the people around him because you can't figure out everything on your own. But a lot of the times, it's just them solving problems.
Mhm. Yeah. And that's actually very important to a story, is that the main character is the one who solves the problems.
Yeah.
And so it's like one of the things that you're going to have to figure out is how Wayne is the one who is going to solve problems.
Hmm.
And it's like I remember you said like your theme, um it was like the human mind is the most valuable resource in the
Hmm.
known universe. Cooperation is necessary for human flourishment and we are connected on a quantum level.
Yeah.
It's like, so he's definitely going to be needing people.
Hmm. And one of the things I didn't mention while we were talking earlier is I've mentioned this theory on the podcast before. I was talking to a sci-fi writer at one point, and we were talking about telepathy. So I started thinking like, okay, so what could explain telepathy scientifically? Let's say for example that it is real, which I don't know if it is or not. But let's, for the sake of argument say that telepathy is real. How could you explain that with science? Well, if consciousness is an external thing and our brains are a radio antenna that picks up the signal but doesn't necessarily create the signal, maybe we're all connected on a quantum level through quantum entanglement to this well of consciousness. So the closer you are to somebody, that the stronger that connection, which could kind of explain every once in a while you're thinking about somebody and all of a sudden they call you on the phone, or
Mhm,
you wake up in the middle of the night and go, "Oh my god, what happened to my aunt?" And all of a sudden you find out that she was in a car wreck. Like that happens all the time to people.
mhm,
And so within the story, Doc, who is this advanced alien, is part of that web of consciousness, but he's they have figured out how to exist without a body and to keep that coherent, within their consciousness and are able to kind of travel, in a different realm of reality, like a different layer of reality is the way that I explain it.
mhm.
And
Yeah.
so kind of the theory is like as these people get older, they're accessing different parts of their brains that aren't available to normal people because we're not advanced enough, we're not evolved enough to kind of access these things. So, like, as Wayne interacts more with Doc, as he interacts more with the daughter of the villain of the story, they kind of start to read each other's minds, and they
Mhm.
don't really know why they're capable of doing that. And when Doc and the villain have their, when they have their face to face at the end, the villain doesn't know what Doc looks like, and Doc is kind of using like an android type of thing to interact with people. It's not him. He's this, coherent consciousness that's able to, envelop the earth, and but he's using this android as a puppet essentially. And
Mhm.
earlier in the book, they have an interaction where he kind of like warns this guy, "Hey, what you're doing is wrong. You shouldn't be doing this." And he didn't know who he was talking to at the time. He thought he was just talking to a normal person, and he didn't look anything like Doc. Doc from Back to the Future came in the 80s, and these guys are talking thousands of years ago. So when they have a face to face on the moon, he immediately recognizes Doc, not by visual, not by talking to him, like, he recognizes his consciousness
Mhm.
without being able to see it, and they learn in the end that, like, this is part of being a conscious being, that, like, as you evolve, you're able to have a better antenna, and you're able to pick up the signal in a better way, and you're able to kind of interact with people and, kind of have a telepathic connection with them through that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And and it's like with that theme connecting to Wayne, because that's very much what we want to do is we want to connect your theme with the character development.
Mhm,
It's like so we've got the kind of we're all connected on a quantum level, like we need each other.
mhm.
We're more alike than we are different
Mhm.
as
We're all
well.
the same. We come from the same place,
Yes.
We're just picking up a portion. Each of us is picking up a tiny portion of that
Mhm.
of that well.
And like the I don't know how to put this, kind of like the differences that we have are what we're taught to hate about each other.
Uh-huh.
Like I know that we talked about the propaganda
Yep.
that like the system had in this book that we're getting the people outside San Francisco and the people inside San Francisco to hate each other.
Mhm.
And once that is broken down, it's like things change.
Mhm.
And so it's like, but going back to Wayne, like we've got the character development of like he wants to be a purpose for good.
Mhm.
And you've got the theme of like we're all connected. And so it's like those two need to be worked together.
Okay.
And it's like, now do you see how they could be worked together?
Sorry, I was taking down a note there.
No worries.
How he can be a purpose for good. Repeat it again. Sorry, I was taking a note. Maybe
No
I
worries.
can come up with something better.
So we're talking about like because the theme and the character development need to be connected.
Mhm.
So we are all connected on a quantum level. Like
Mhm.
we're more alike than we are different. And then we've got Wayne, who he wants to be, he wants to have purpose and he wants to be a purpose for good.
Mhm.
And how do those connect?
Yeah, so I think what could be is, like, he starts thinking, goes into the city thinking that these people are evil and they're, essentially living off of slave labor. And by the end, he's creating, a team of these people that are going to cooperate and go to the moon together and figure out what is going on. And a lot of music is going to play a big part in the book, where one of the ways that he kind of shows these people that they have been propagandized and being controlled is he's going to introduce punk rock to them. He's going to introduce some movies to them. You know, Fight Club, a couple different B for Vendetta type of stuff. So
Yes.
he's going to show them punk rock and he's going to show them music and but he's also going to realize after, you know, he goes back to his home with the villain's daughter and she kind of sees what's going on. He's going to play her some Fleetwood Mac and some stuff like that and he's going to realize that like okay, punk rock wasn't necessarily a bad choice to introduce to them, but maybe not a great choice either because they don't have a lot of concepts that would be necessary to fully understand punk rock. Where like
Mhm.
I enjoyed punk rock as a kid, but I didn't really understand it until I was an adult, where I kind of had a better idea of the concepts that they were singing about. So they needed to, you know, have these like love songs like Fleetwood Mac where they would feel something rather
Yeah.
than just existing in this hedonistic lifestyle. So I think like being willing to cooperate with these people that he thought he was, you know, thought were the enemy is going to be a big part of him like breaking down the walls that were created by this, you know, system that enslaved him.
Ooh, it's like I want you to hear that a little bit again, is like he's cooperating with the enemy
Mhm.
only to realize they are not the enemy.
Exactly.
That
Yeah.
is huge. That is a huge part of like the overarching theme and his character development. Like, whoo, I got tingles.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, cooperation is and like I was telling you with this, it's not a moon, it's a space station, you know? Part
Incredible.
of the it's kind of like a puzzle box where they put it on the moon for humans to discover when they were capable of going to the moon because what is needed to go to the moon? Cooperation. That's not something that a single person can do. You know, you have to be able to be willing to cooperate to come up with the technology, to have the money, to have the desire, to have the willpower to go to the moon and not only go, but to explore. Like this thing is not just, you know, here's a flag. Hey, look at me. This is how you get inside of me. Like you have to explore craters and find like go through some holographic crater and kind of find the entrance to this thing. And,
Mhm.
you know, it requires cooperation. So when you go into this moon, it has different puzzles that you have to solve. It has scientific puzzles, it has mechanical puzzles, and the breakaway civilization solves all of these puzzles, and they can't figure out for the life of them why this thing won't turn on. But the one problem that they didn't account for was cooperation. They weren't cooperating with people on Earth. They were
Mhm.
kind of looking at themselves as being above these normal, you know, short living people like they're better than them and they don't want them to know that this thing exists and in order to like turn this thing on you have to be willing to cooperate and one of the aspects that I have for you know solving this riddle to get into this thing is there can't be any more war on the planet like there's you know Doc is there to watch and make sure that these people are doing the right thing before they're because how can you let a war hungry planet be connected to the rest of the universe with all of these
Mhm.
other people? You can't do that because they're going to start wars, they're going to start problems. These people have to be advanced enough and you know it- and what's the word I'm looking for? They have to be advanced and they have to be self-aware enough to be capable of interacting with the the global community. You don't want
Yeah.
some violent sociopath coming into your community. You know, we have a sexual predator lists, you know, for that very reason. Like we want to know where these people are because they're dangerous, you know. So they don't want somebody dangerous coming into the community. So they need to learn to cooperate with each other. It doesn't mean that there can't be violence on the planet because I don't think that you're ever going to get rid of individual violence, but there can't be war on a
Yeah.
massive scale. And I think like that's a good metric for, you know, if you were the older sibling of these people because we all come from the same DNA, the people that
Mhm.
started this, the gardeners. We're all very similar in a lot of ways. We kind of look similar. We don't look like exactly alike, but have two arms and two legs, and kind of operate the same way. We have mouths and noses. We look different,
Yeah.
some of them are gray aliens, some of them look more like Neanderthals, some of them are, you know, we look different, but we're very similar. And
Mhm.
yeah, that's kind of where I was going with that, where like you have to be responsible in order to enter the community.
It's like and it's like Wayne is that unifying
Yeah.
factor.
Yeah, but still, once they discover this thing, the gardeners kinda lock them out of it and go, "Hey, look, you can't just come into the community now. You just had a cataclysm on your planet. There's very few people, like, you have to come together as a civilization, as a unified people. You have to solve this problem for yourselves. You can't just we're not gonna let this breakaway civilization solve the problem for you and just lets you in, like, you have to go through the steps yourselves."
Mhm. It's like I very much like that Wayne is kind of like that unifying,
Yeah.
um, force because he is also someone who has the nanites. It's like when it comes to that, like, he is similar to the people, like, in power in San Francisco,
Mhm.
but he is
A
also
tool.
but he is more connected to the community when it comes to, like, values and of
Yes.
the people who are just, like, regular people who live and die.
Mhm. He was raised proper, but
Yeah, so
he strayed away from being a good person when he was younger
mhm,
and has to find that path again.
yeah. But now, like, because of all of that, it's like he becomes this unifying force where he is almost a person of both worlds.
Mhm. Yeah.
He can be that person who can bring them both together
Mhm.
and can bring that cooperation part
Mhm.
so that they can unlock this wormhole in the moon.
Yep, and also they need to after this breakaway civilization is defeated, they need to go throughout the world and help the people that are still surviving because his community is not the only slave community. They've got communities
Mhm,
all over the world that are slaves, you know, and they have to, kind of go in and say, "Hey, look, this is what happened. We're going to help you get back on your feet again. We're going to help you grow," because there's also limits placed on the community by the breakaway civilization to where they're they have a controlled population. They're not allowed to expand because the breakaway civilization doesn't want any threat to their hegemony essentially. So you have to keep the population constrained to where they can't band together, and they're far enough, each community is far enough apart where they don't have any communication with each other. They have no
mhm.
idea. Wayne has no idea how many people are left around the planet. For all he knows, they could be the only community.
Yeah,
So they have to go, and help everybody get back on their feet again and get civilization back started and allow people to live normal lives rather than being slaves.
yeah, definitely. It's like I think you've got, like it's like through this conversation, we have definitely helped you see, like, the golden thread
Yeah.
that is moving through your book. It's like so it's not just the fun sci-fi plot. It's like just through this conversation, like, you now know kind of like the motivation behind and the important beliefs that you want to put into this book
Mhm.
and like the point that you are trying to make through the story. So it's not just a boring autobiography.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely got themes that need to be stitched together. There's certain themes throughout that need to be stitched together, and a lot of that is like I was telling you off air. I think that like narration is the toughest part for me for writing, where I think the narrator's job, and it's a first person narration, so Wayne is narrating it himself, and then when it goes to following the villain, it's a third person narration. So there has to be explanations going on, and I'm not looking forward to writing that part because it's going to take a lot of research of ancient civilizations and stuff like that. I haven't delved into. I know a lot about that type of stuff, and I've got
Mhm.
notes on like where I'm gonna go and which ancient figures, what's the word? I don't know. Anyways, these mythological figures are going to be real that are going to be nanite infected, and um, there's gonna be the flood is gonna kind of be to the first round of nanites that go through are going to turn people into Nephilim, which is like those ancient um, giants from the Bible, and the flood has to come
Oh,
through
yeah.
and wipe them out. And so, like, the villain is kind of the first normal person to be infected by these things, and the computer core that survived doesn't, is trying things out. And also, there's a theory that it's a quantum computer essentially that kind of survived and rebuilt itself out of nanites, and there's a theory that quantum computers are able to do their calculations. They're able to calculate things that would take a normal computer longer than the life of the universe to do. And one of the theories is that these things exist in the multiverse, so it's every version of itself across a multiverse doing these
Mhm.
calculations. So I'm going to have it to where um they didn't just invade one universe, they invaded an entire multiverse, and this computer is able
Oh, yeah.
to communicate across the multiverse. So it's trying things. It's trying things here. That didn't work. Okay, we'll try something else here. And that's how Wayne is able to end up finding the answers to these things, is he kind of
Mhm.
goes to a very nasty place in the city that the leaders of the city go to, where they can go to different universes and go have dinner or go kill somebody or go rape somebody or whatever they want to
Yeah.
do. They can just plug into this pod and take over the body of themselves in a different universe. So Wayne does this, goes to a different universe, and is able to kind of be told what happened, not told, but showed. They kind of go, okay, we're going to show you, because in the universe he goes to, they thwarted the EMP attack. Somebody within the civilization turned on them and kind of told humanity what was happening, and they were able to kind of stop this invasion essentially.
Mhm.
And he's able to view what happened in their universe. So it's not exactly the same as what happened in his universe, but it's close enough. So he gets a
Yeah.
picture of what's going on.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of weird sci-fi stuff. Rick and Morty,
Yeah.
you know?
It's like the one thing I would recommend to you is like you've got so much sci-fi
Yeah.
in here, is that to make sure that you don't have just like really big downloads.
Mhm.
It's like let the reader experience all of your world building and a lot of like the history and the technology through Wayne's eyes.
Yeah.
And so that there is conflict and stakes as he's learning this.
Mhm.
So that it's not just like, oh my gosh, we just had 3 pages of nothing but explaining
Yeah.
the science.
Yeah. No, I'm not gonna do
You
that.
lose people like that.
And, like, back to, like, I just brought up Rick and Morty. There's a lot of crazy sci-fi going on in Rick and Morty, but there's still this character arc of Rick
Mhm,
where his wife was killed, in front of his eyes by this evil version of himself, and his whole goal is to find this guy and to get his life back. And once he finally does that, nothing changes, you know?
mhm.
And it's
Yeah,
about him as a person as much as it is about the crazy sci-fi gadgets.
yeah. And that's a story is more about the person who is experiencing what's going on and how they change
Yeah.
than it is all the cool sci-fi.
Yeah.
As
No,
much as the cool sci-fi is so much fun.
yeah, I know, and that's like, I was watching the last season of Rick and Morty recently, and, like, Rick finds the guy who killed his wife, and he kills him, and it's like, wow, he did it. Like, that was his character arc, and then nothing changes, and it's like, wow, you forget that this show has depth to it, you know? Like, on the surface, it's portal jumping and crazy sci-fi weapons and doing all this funny and cool stuff, but, like, you forget that, like, Rick is a real person.
Yeah,
He's not a god. As much as he likes to say he's a god, he's not a god. He's a real person.
yeah. And that is what people come to books for, is that deepness. It's like we can get the fun sci-fi in television and all
Mhm.
this stuff, but books, they have this, it's like it's how do I put this? A medium of reading and the a book's story just allows for you to get into someone's head,
Mhm.
which you don't get in any other art or entertainment.
Mhm.
And so people are looking for that deeper story
Yeah. I'm,
inside
uh
a person.
I'm reading The Expanse right now. I
Oh,
just
another good
finished
series.
book 2 and, I stopped to go to Expeditionary Force 19, but I'm gonna go to book 3 as soon as tonight, actually, when I finish Expeditionary Force, and it's fairly similar to the TV show as far as, like, the sci-fi aspect of it goes. The story's pretty similar, but what you don't get in the TV show is what the characters are thinking, why they're doing you kind of it gives you enough in the show that you kind of know what they're thinking, but you don't really know. And so, like, the relationship between Holden and Miller is
Mhm,
is a lot deeper in the book. Like, you really see how much, like, what Miller does conflicts with Holden's morals, you know?
mhm,
And, like, in the show, I don't remember thinking that they hated each other in the show. And I don't think Miller hated Holden. I think Miller kind of looked up to Holden in a way. He looked at him as like a beacon of like a lighthouse in a dark world, and he
mhm,
wished that he could be like Holden in a lot of ways. But Holden really had a lot of disdain for Miller because of the decisions that he made. Miller was a troubled guy and he did what he thought was right at the time, and like killing that scientist on that was coming up with this protomolecule stuff, like Holden was not okay with that, and that kind of
yeah,
destroyed their relationship. But you know the rest of his crew was like, hey, like, Miller did the right thing here. Like, that guy needed to die. There was no way that he was gonna be held accountable for what he did. He was gonna weasel out of it some way, and, like, that guy was too dangerous to live. And, like, I don't know how I feel about that. It's a great conflict within the book.
yeah. And in the book, you can see that Miller actually did it for the right reasons.
Yeah, yeah. He thought that there was no way that that guy was gonna be held accountable, and he was too dangerous to be left alive. And, like, I don't know that I disagree with him. Like, I have a problem with killing an unarmed man, but, like, that guy did some horrible things and killed a million people, you know?
Mhm,
And it's like, if the government's not gonna hold this guy to account, like, one of the things, like, I watch a lot of, like, predator catching videos on YouTube, you know?
okay.
And a lot of times the state is not good at prosecuting these people. Like, the state will arrest normal people for a lot of really, you know, dumb reasons, in my opinion, for this or that. But when it comes to something like this, they don't do much. And I'm against corporal punishment. Like, I think the state is too corrupt to be allowed to have, you know, the power of life and death over somebody. Like, it's so easy for them to rig a trial or, just have a corrupt prosecutor or a bad lawyer. So, like, I don't believe in the death penalty, but I would have no problem a lot of times with, like, this person being killed by the father. Like, if
Mhm,
he's coming to destroy the life and rape a little girl, like, and the father catches you doing that, like, kill the guy. Like, that's, to me, like, that's justified in a lot of ways. And, like, I don't wanna leave it up to the state. So, like, I thought that they did a great job in those books of, like, showing this conflict that arose between, like, Miller's decisions and Holden's idealism.
mhm, yeah. That's fantastic.
Yeah. What are some of the other we got a few more minutes here. What are some of the other books that you would, recommend to people?
Ooh, it's like when it comes to sci-fi,
Sure. Sci-fi, fantasy, whatever you think.
oh, it's like I read, it's like a lot of the ones that you've talked about are the ones that um the ones that I really enjoy. It's like the Expeditionary Force, the Expanse. It's like I have recently gotten into um sci-fi. It's like I came from fantasy.
Mhm.
It's like it's like my family has always loved fantasy. And so that's always been my side. But um one of my really good friends is an author and he writes a lot of kind of cryptid and dinosaur
Mm,
sci-fi.
yeah.
And so he got me into Jurassic Park, which when I read Jurassic Park, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like this is different than the movie."
I have never read it before. I need to.
Yeah, it's different from the movie, and I
Cool.
was absolutely shocked.
Cool.
Let's see. When it comes to fantasy, it's like we were talking, Brandon Sanderson. I think like with you liking sci-fi, I think you will actually like Brandon Sanderson because his fantasy, he really thinks through his magical systems. And I would call it like hard fantasy. Like we have hard sci-fi where everything has rules and limitations but he also dives into characters. Like he is one person that I was like, here's a man who can write from a perspective of a woman because
Yeah, that's hard.
he's got a character named Vin from his trilogy Mistborn, which is the first book that you should read from him, the trilogy Mistborn. And even though he's like, I don't know, he was like a 40-year-old man when he wrote it, it's like he did such a great job at getting into the head of like a 18-year-old girl
Mhm.
who lives on the streets and has had to survive and only count on herself for her entire life. And then all of a sudden gets into this group and learns what it is to have friends and learns what it means to actually trust someone. And so just yeah, it's like if you want to start into fantasy, start with Brandon Sanderson.
Good to know. I wrote his name down, so if I start running out of sci-fi stuff to listen to. One of
I was like,
the
you will never run out of sci-fi. Let's be
Yeah,
honest
I
here.
know, it's great. One of the hard things about, like, I listen to everything. I don't read a ton of hard copies. I read every once in a while. I'm reading a hard copy right now for a podcast coming up next week. Cyberpunk book. It's really good. And, like, one of the things that's kind of, like, annoying now is, like, there's so many books on Audible that there's like, it's hard to know what's good and what isn't because very few books are getting 20,000 reviews at this point. Like, there's just a ton of them that are 400 reviews or 200 reviews or, like the book that I'm reading right now, the guy's got like 26 reviews on Amazon, but the book's really good. It's a cyberpunk
Mhm.
book and like it's really good. And it's hard to know like what's good and what isn't. Like one of the things I do is like I think R.C. Bray and Ray Porter are probably the best narrators out there right now, and I kind of just go through their books. I
Yeah,
figure like if R.C. Bray and Ray Porter decided to read it, it's probably pretty good.
exactly. I agree.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Well,
like I actually listen to a lot of or I actually like read a lot of local authors
mhm,
here in Colorado Springs. And actually, oh, what's it called? It's like a local author that's a friend of mine. She has a series called the Consortium series.
mhm.
And the first book is called Recorder. And I think you'd like that one too.
Okay, sounds good. Is it? Did she have an audio version of it, or is it hard copy only?
It's like I actually like for Christmas she gave me like them on CD.
Oh, that's cool.
I do not know if they're on Audible, but
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
them on CD. I have no idea how I'm gonna listen to them though.
Right on. Well, at least I think I've taken up enough of your time today. It was a pleasure talking with you. And how can
Yeah,
people how can people hire you or come to you for help if they need it?
I enjoyed doing this little coaching session with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, so I am on Instagram at elise.j.seal, and you can always slip into my DMs and just tell me what you're struggling with your book. And if I can't help, then I know a ton of people who can.
Perfect.
And I very much work with people who are starting, people who are writing their first draft, and people who are editing who know there's something wrong with their book but can't figure out why. I very much, just like I did with you, it's like we make things clear so that it's easier to write your book.
Yeah, and I hope people that listen to this can take this as like, you know, kind of a blueprint for how to, you know, work through these problems because I feel like we made a lot of progress. And, you
We
know, I've got
did.
some good notes. I'm sure you've got some good notes. I'd love if you could send them to me. That'd be
Oh, I'll
great.
definitely send you the notes. No worries.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, yeah, I'll have your Instagram linked down in the description of the podcast so people can go down and shoot you a DM and get some help on their books, which is it's great. You know, it's I think more people should be as many people as writing books is the better. You know, I like you said, we'll never run out of sci-fi, and I think that's a great thing.
Agreed. It's like one of the things I actually want to tell your listeners is if they DM me, I'll send them what you did
Yeah,
with me. It's called the mini blueprint. And it is the bare bones of your book on one page.
yeah. It's
And it
very
helps you,
painless.
yeah,
It took me less than an hour to fill out.
mhm. And it helps you see what you know about your book and what you don't. And I was able to see like the gaps and the problems in your story just from
Yeah,
that one page.
yeah.
So,
Very
yeah,
cool.
it's like, come and DM me and I'll send it to you.
Awesome. Well, I very much appreciate this. This was great talking with you, and I really appreciate the help. It's you know going to help me out a lot, and I think it'll definitely improve the story. So it was
Yeah.
great talking with you.
I can't wait to read your book.
Yeah, I can't wait for it to be done. It's going to be a while though. Don't be holding your breath on it. I write very slow with one finger.
No worries. I'll keep tabs on you and see
Yeah,
how you
yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, we're going to call it there. Thanks for listening, everybody. Good night.